Okay, well, the big Kyrie trade finally went down tonight. And of course, as we know, the Cavs traded Kyrie for Isaiah Thomas, Jay Crowder, and the Brooklyn Nets 2018 first round pick unprotected. What are my thoughts on this? Well, it's very complicated, and I can't declare a clear winner right out of the gate. I will say this. It seems like a fair trade, okay? Now, it wasn't the ideal trade that I wanted as a LeBron fanboy who wants the Cavs to win the title. Throughout this, there were trades like, I believe there was a trade where the Phoenix gives up Eric Bledsoe, some project center named Dragon, seriously, his name was like Dragon something. A white guy stiff, but he's supposedly a project because he's probably 21 or something. But, nothing really. Maybe he could develop into something, but don't count on it. I think it was just like Eric Bledsoe, this Dragon Bender, maybe, something like that. Some crappy player. And then something else. Maybe even nothing. Oh, I think it might be like, a first round pick, which from Phoenix is not going to be that great. It's not probably going to be a high pick. Now, that would have been an example of a trade I would have really hated, because there you clearly got worse. I mean, face facts, in the NBA, a first round pick outside of the top 10 or so, unless you just catch lightning in a bottle, is kind of worthless. Hate to say it, but you can look at the league every year of the draft. Most of the players in the first round, don't turn out. You got to be near the top to have even a shot, and even then it's kind of 50-50. My point is, a mid, somewhere around 15 or something like Phoenix pick probably would have been, pick is essentially worthless, for all intents and purposes. So, in that case, you're basically in the Project Center Dragon Bender, worthless. 1% chance of developing into something. Maybe 3%. Okay, but so at that point, you've basically traded Kyrie Irving for Eric Bledsoe, and there's nobody who doesn't think that's a terrible trade. There's nobody who thinks Eric Bledsoe's as good as Kyrie Irving. So that would have been an example of a terrible trade for Cleveland. And I said this throughout while they were leading up to this trade. You cannot give Kyrie up for nothing. Don't listen to this garbage of, you got to trade him, and all the other teams in the driver's seat because Cleveland has to trade him. No bullshit, you don't have to trade him. He was under contract for 2 years. And my thinking was, you can go into the season with him. You know what I mean? It wouldn't have been ideal, but you had to do it if you couldn't get a good value for the trade. Now, the trades I was looking at that might be a good value were like Phoenix gives us Eric Bledsoe and Josh Jackson, and whatever else, a pick probably. I was willing to do the trade from, one trade I heard about it around was Minnesota, Andrew Wiggins, and I think Paul Millsap. Was that right? Or it was somebody, I think I might be getting that name wrong. But it was another good, it may have been Paul Millsap. Or Jeff Teague, something like that. Let me look up the Minnesota roster real quick. Minnesota Timberwolves. Sorry for this. I'm trying to look up who they even have. Let's see. They were going to trade Wiggins and Jeff Teague. Okay, yeah, I knew it was somebody. So Wiggins and Jeff Teague. We would have had to wait until December 15th to get Jeff Teague. Which would have meant that Kyrie started the season on the roster, which in my opinion made it kind of a non-starter. Because in my opinion, if you started the season with Kyrie on the roster, that's kind of a line of no return. If you did that, at that point, the path of least resistance becomes keep Kyrie, in my opinion. like you kind of, like if you reach that point, it's like, why? I don't know. It just seemed like a dividing line to me. That it was going to be tough to do, So that was going to be a tough trade to pull off. But like that would have been a good trade. The guy I wanted the most out of the deal was Andrew Wiggins. Out of all the speculated major workable trades, I wanted Andrew Wiggins because I've always been an Andrew Wiggins fanboy. Nothing like LeBron, mind you, but I've always liked that guy as an NBA player and his upside. Since before the draft, that year that he got drafted. So I would have thought it was a good trade straight up, Kyrie for Wiggins, and I would have took that all day long. And I would have liked it better than this trade, quite frankly. That would have been my dream trade. Getting Andrew Wiggins in one way or another. So, let's talk some more. The trade. So I was always strictly like, look, if you can't get a really good trade for Kyrie, do not deal him for nothing. You're slitting your own throat, or for a low return. You're slitting your own throat if you do that. So the way I look at this trade, it wasn't the best possible trade, but we did not give him up for nothing. In a way, we got a pretty good, I don't want to say a princely sum, but we got a pretty good return. We got a pretty dear price for him. Like I said, I look at it as a trade that's good for both teams. If I'm a Boston fan, I look at this as fair. If I'm a Cleveland fan, I look at this as fair, I don't know if it's ideal, but I think it's fairly fair to make a pun on words or something. It's fairly fair. Boston, they've been wanting that superstar, and Ainge is coming under so much criticism for stockpiling assets and not using them. And, I think Ainge said after they were beaten by Cleveland soundly in the playoffs this past year, something about how, we have a lot of good players, but it doesn't mean anything. We don't have, I think he said this, we don't have that one guy, And Kyrie is that one guy for them now, the superstar. They had a lot of stars, no superstar. So that's what they wanted, and they got it. For Cleveland, you can make a good case, too, that, Isaiah can step in and give you 80-90% of what Kyrie gave you anyway. In addition, you're getting, in theory, you're getting Jay Crowder. I don't know a lot about him, but as I understand it, his strength is defense. And so you get a coveted wing defender at a low contract, and you're getting a pick that could, you don't know, but it could be all up to the first pick in the lottery. It could be a really valuable pick. And it should be a high pick, everyone I think is assuming. So, it really is a case of, and everybody said Cleveland had to get certain things. They had to get players that could help them win now, and they had to get players that they had to get something to build for the future. They had to get veterans who could help them win now because LeBron's there now. And they had to be able to look to an eye to the future in case LeBron leaves, after the season, as a lot of people are expecting. So, like I said, what do I think of this trade? Well, I got to thinking, I like it. I kind of like it, but I'm excited about it, I'll say. I'm excited about it, in a way, because I want to see some different blood in Cleveland. Maybe Kyrie isn't as good as we thought, Or is Cleveland going to be awesome with Isaiah Thomas now? That'd be interesting. My thoughts that Ty Lue's a terrible coach. But I'm trying to put those in the back of my head right now and, be hopeful. So, I got to thinking, though, probably as a LeBron fan rather than a Cleveland fan, I might be silly being positive on this trade. Why? Because straight up, if you look at Kyrie for Isaiah, you think that Isaiah is not as good a player as Kyrie, right? That's obvious because they gave up, they didn't give up just Isaiah for Kyrie. They gave up three things, including a very valuable pick, So that's the league telling you right there. Kyrie is much better than Isaiah Thomas, in a way. So, as a LeBron fanboy, I might be stupid to like this trade because you're basically trading out Kyrie for a lesser player, and I guess you throw in Jay Crowder. I don't know what you value him as. It's hard to fit that in, but if you look at it as just you're trading Kyrie for probably a less good player, and okay, you get a great pick out of it. What good is that if LeBron leaves after the year? That me as a LeBron fan, not a Cleveland fan, then that pick means nothing to me. So it's very difficult to now. I'll get to this in a minute though. So, but still, from a LeBron perspective, maybe it wasn't a great trade. Looked at as a Cleveland perspective, though, it probably was. And even as a LeBron fan, I don't think it's all bad at all. Like I said, they got, I think, fair value for him. Now, some little perspectives, I think, I see different perspectives about trades or things that often make a lot of sense. One perspective I saw, I think it was, I forget his name now. He used to work for ESPN, though. But, he's a real clean-cut white guy, clean-shaven as all heck, redhead. But I forget his freaking name. He works in the Bay Area now. He's not on ESPN anymore. Rick Bucher. He said, he tweeted that this is basically LeBron saying, I can beat you with my guys, or I can take your guys and beat you with my guys. So that's an interesting way to look at it. That's one viewpoint. You can look at the trade and say, hey, this is LeBron saying, I'll take your guys and beat you with them, or I'll take my guys and beat your guys with them. Either way. So that's an interesting take on the trade. I saw another interesting take that just basically said, look, Boston's the best team in the East now. And I think you can kind of make a case for that. You've got Kyrie, you've got Jason Tatum, you've got Jaylen Brown, who's been a stud in Summer League. You've got Al Horford still. And who else? I'm drawing blanks. Oh, you got Gordon Hayward. I don't know. On paper, is it starting to be more talent than the Cavs have? Maybe it's getting there, So that's another interesting perspective that I think had some value. That, hey, this trade makes Boston the best team in the East, point blank, period. I think you could look at it that way. But another interesting angle on the trade is I heard this a few times on the radio, and the host was like, wow, really, you think that? And the guy was like, yeah, it was Amin Al-Hassan, actually. Basically, he was saying this makes it a lot more likely that LeBron stays in Cleveland. That's an interesting point of view. I don't know if it's true or not true, but, he was like, I guess that you have a pick, you're going to have a high pick in theory. Now LeBron has something more to look forward to, I guess was the theory. I don't even remember how he explained it. But, if he stays, now you've got a very high pick in theory. Let's see where it ends up. To either continue to build or trade. You can, that high pick's a heavy bargaining chip. You can trade for more assets for LeBron. So that's an interesting perspective that's been batted around as well, that I think has some validity, is that it increases the chances LeBron stays in Cleveland. Maybe so. So that's an interesting way to look at it. Some bad things, part of me worries that, to me it's all about the coaching, and we're going to see now, and my rational side says, look, Brad Stevens is a great coach, so here's what's going to happen. Kyrie's going to be amazing in Boston, and Isaiah is going to be not that good in Cleveland because Ty Lue is a terrible coach, and Brad Stevens is a great coach. And that's really the difference here. Like Brad Stevens was probably getting maximum out of Isaiah Thomas, and Ty Lue is probably not getting anywhere near maximum out of Kyrie Irving, So there's a lot of perspectives on it. And, I don't love the deal like crazy. I don't hate it, though. It's kind of exciting. I'm excited to see this upcoming season, My gut tells me it's going to be a dumpster fire because of Ty Lue. But, I'm always hoping that it's not. I'm trying to be optimistic. And I think you can make cases for each side of this trade. If you want to be pro-Cavs, you can say, look, Isaiah Thomas is just about as, he had just as much production, let's put it that way, as Kyrie last year. So you drop that in, you're not losing anything there, and, now you're gaining Jay Crowder and a high first-round pick, Part of me says, look, Isaiah Thomas falls in that category of guys like Kevin Love that I'm not even sure they're good, let alone great. Kevin Love, am I sure? Are we sure I think Bill Simmons is actually the one who coined this phrase. He typically does about NFL quarterbacks. It can be anybody. He'll just come up with a name that everybody assumes is good, and he'll go, are we sure he's good? Typically after he loses a big game or something. He might say that about like Joe Flacco or somebody kind of on the fringe like that. He always kind of asks that rhetorical question: are we sure he's good? Are we sure? He asks it about the coach Doc Rivers sometimes, I think. Because Doc Rivers really hasn't done anything as a coach lately. So, that's the kind of question I think you ask about Isaiah Thomas. I think, to me, I ask it about Kevin Love all the time. And I think you can even ask it to some extent about Kyrie Irving. Are we sure that he's good? So Isaiah, he has huge defensive liabilities because he's 5'9", and, they say you can't hide him on defense and all that. So, something to keep out. Are we sure keep look out for? Are we sure he's good? Anyway, so that's my thoughts on the big trade. I think that Cleveland got a lot, and it's just a complex deal. I don't hate it. I don't love it, but I'm excited about it in a way. I'm excited about the upcoming season now. I don't think we could just go into this season just rerunning it back with Kyrie, Love, and LeBron. We've seen that movie, it doesn't appear to be going anywhere. Now, I think that's probably because of Ty Lue, but still.